Welcome into Tapping Vegas, brought to you by Better and Green. Today we're talking about Marvin Vettori versus Roman Dolidze 2 UFC Fight Night. Thank you to our friends over at DraftKings. We get all of our odds from them. And if you want $150 in free bets, make sure you guys use the link in our description. Bobby, we're going to give the people 5 fights tonight to win them some money. It's kind of spread all out across the early prelims and the main card. So why don't you take this first fight away, man?
We have Ryan Spann versus Waldo Cortes-Acosta. What a banger at heavyweight. Kicking it off with some absolutely disgusting slop as per the usual. So, Waldo Cortes-Acosta, he's on a 3-fight win streak. This is contrasting with Ryan Spann, who is currently – he won against Ovent St. Preux by guillotine last October, but before that, he was on a 3-fight skid. Is he turning it around, or will the skid continue? This is the ultimate question, right? We talk about a lot of fighters on this show, and sometimes the fighter on a skid continues to skid. Eventually, they get cut. Sometimes they're able to turn it around and kind of snap out of it. So, which camp does Ryan Spann fall into? Guess we're going to have to find out, because neither one of these guys are exactly moving the needle for me in the heavyweight division. I mean, Cortes-Acosta had an absolutely disgusting fight in his most recent fight last May with Robles Despain. Despain, as we all know, entered the UFC with a lot of hype. He was kind of billed as like this Cuban Francis Ngannou. It did not pan out, not even a little bit. And his tenure ended pretty quickly after 2 straight losses. After he managed to beat Josh Parisian, Waldo Cortes-Acosta made it disgusting. Austin Lane made it disgusting. And Austin Lane, we just saw get pretty comically knocked out by Mario Pinto, who we called that for, by the way. So you're welcome.
Good.
So, yeah, now he's in karate combat. So, I mean, it's nice that Cortes-Acosta was able to beat him, but that's just not like a victory that has really aged well. It's kind of aged like milk out in the Arizona sun. And Andrei Arlovsky last January, that's a corpse. Lucas Brzezinski, that's a corpse. Finished him in August of 2023, lost his debut to Marco Sergio de Lima. Pretty tall order to be facing Marco Sergio de Lima after you've only fought Chase Sherman and Gerald Vandera in your first 2 fights in the UFC. So no surprise they lost there. But thus far in the UFC, that's his only blemish, right? So far. Or is it? Well, with the odds the way they are, I just can't pass up the opportunity to just get hurt one more time by Ryan Superman Spann. Once again, I'm not impressed by guillotining OSP in the first round, but at least you were able to do it last October. Jury's out on that Bogdan Guskov loss. Talking about a loss aging well or aging like milk. Time will tell if that's going to age like a fine wine, losing to ground and pound to Bogdan Guskov. Pretty bad that you lost a split decision to Anthony Smith, and pretty bad that you got triangle choked by Nikita Krylov. And before that, he was beating the hell out of Dominic Reyes, who thankfully is looking a hell of a lot better recently. Good for him, even though Spann missed weight. Beat Kutalaba, that was a good win. But then, hey, his first fight with Anthony Smith, he got choked out by a rear naked. So he's kind of all over the place. But it's that all over the place, unpredictable nature and that power that he has in his hands, and just that kind of, hope and a prayer living on it. Like, I'm kind of thinking I'm doing right now, that makes me intrigued by Ryan Spann, because you're getting Ryan Spann at a pretty decent odd right now, plus 142, minus 170 for Waldo Cortes-Acosta. Very razor close on this DraftKings. 52% of bets placed are on Cortes-Acosta. You got 48% there on Spann. As far as a winning method, since I'm going with Ryan Spann here, boy, oh boy, what about Ryan Spann by KO, TKO, or sub at plus 205? The sub's kind of throwing me off, because I feel like Cortes-Acosta can be enough of a boring wet blanket to not get subbed. My gut's telling me if Spann's going to do it, he's going to do what Despain should have done, which is just a violent knockout. So I'm a little intrigued by that knockout. So I'm just going to go with Ryan Spann KO TKO at plus 450. Very difficult fight, but I just can't pass up Ryan Spann with the huge plus odds, and not being very convinced by either guy. I'm just going to go with who's got some really good plus money. How are you kind of seeing this?
I'm seeing it almost exactly like you are. I don't have the confidence to take a method. I will take Ryan Spann on the money line. Same age, and I know you're looking at their records, and it's like 12-1 and 22-10. Like, oh, Ryan Spann's got a lot more losses. He's got a lot more experience too. He's got 10 more wins too. Like, I feel like Ryan Spann's just thrown to the side so often, and a lot of the times, I mean, you can't blame people because he is really, really, really up and down. But I really think Spann can get the sub. I think he could get the knockout too. It's going to be like the Robelis to Spann fight. Like Cortes-Acosta was able to just keep fighting, keep a little bit at range, touch him up here and there. And I don't think that's the way to win this fight. I don't like Ryan Spann by decision. I don't like it, but since I get the plus 140 money line, I like just leaving all my options open with the plus money. So I'm just going to go money line, but I feel like if it goes to decision, it's probably more likely Cortes-Acosta. I feel like if Spann just goes in there and goes hard, I think he can get out in the first. I really do. I think Cortes-Acosta is a semi-talented striker, talented enough striker. I mean, he's got to be something because Robelis to Spann, as terrible as he was in the UFC, is a pretty accomplished fighter in his own right. So I think Cortes-Acosta is talented. Is he 12-1? Yes, but at the same time, dude's 33. He's not going to be a contender in the sport. So this is kind of a fight that it feels kind of like the odds should be around here, be pretty close. So I'm absolutely with you, taking the plus 140. It is split, like you said, very close, 52-48. But we're actually seeing some sharp money come in on Ryan Spann. 48% of the bets, but 53% of the money. So other people are seeing this too, Bobby.
Yeah, you make two really good points before we move on. The first is records. Yeah, records are great, and they do provide some analysis, but don't be a record gazer, because sometimes in MMA it's so tough to be, like you were saying, 10 losses, but maybe the experience trumps it. Maybe the losses do take a mental toll. It's so hard to get into something kind of that subjective, I guess, in terms of how that, plays in a matchup. It does have a place, don't get me wrong, by any means, before I get hate comments, but it's really dependent and really contextual. And the second thing is, if it goes to decision, 100% Cortes-Acosta. I agree with that.
Are you gonna do the double method, or are you gonna stay KO?
I'm just gonna stay KO to be safe, because I think if it's getting to a grappling situation, Cortes-Acosta, as I mentioned, is gonna be just wet blanketing. I think he's going to be smothering sub attempts, defending them pretty well, and Ryan Spann's just going to be on his back. And those are very hard to hit in modern MMA off your back, like triangles. Jalen Turner, why'd you do that? Anyway, you get the point.
Bobby, I have a question for you. Do you know what the last thing you hear from a Chinese pedo before you're thrown into the back of their van?
What would that be?
We have You So Young versus AJ Cunningham as our second fight of the night.
Beautiful champ.
Now, this fight, I have gone back and forth on. I've watched so much tape. There's not a ton of tape out there, but I've watched the tape that I can. Listened to so many opinions. And boy, it didn't help at all. It really didn't. It really didn't. And I think I'm going to surprise some people here. So, Cunningham has horrible takedown defense. Su Young, very, very talented wrestler. But 65-inch reach to 71. And Cunningham is a very, very tough guy. The more active striker, there's just a couple things that aren't adding up to me here, Bobby. And then also, I asked AI, I said, at what range, at what reach advantage is it statistically significant? And it told me at 2% or 2+ inches, it's they can't really do much with that. 2 to 3 inches, it's kind of a wash. 4 inches and up is statistically significant. When you have a 4-inch reach or more, you win more times than not. And then 6+ plus, which is what Cunningham is, 6 inches more in reach. They say it's even to the next level there. For Cunningham, I think I have to be on him, dude. I have to be on Cunningham at the plus 440. Is that what he's at right now? AJ Cunningham plus 455. The terrible thing, though. The terrible thing, though. 29% of bets are on him. You saw that?
That is insane.
29% of bets at plus 455 makes sense. Here's where it doesn't. The money percentage, 84% of the money's on Cunningham.
Interesting. Huh.
That is.
You think Vegas is going to allow that?
I mean, I can't imagine 84% at plus 455. Now, maybe they're saying, 84% of the pot in this fight is not going to be the same as it is in Vettori Dolidze. 80% of that money is thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars more than we're going to see in this fight. But that is crazy. 84% at plus 455. That's a lot of sharp money. So I'm not the only one that's thinking this. That, you know what, Su Yung isn't really able to keep guys down. Sometimes he is, sometimes not so much. Cunningham fought I'm a blank on his name. I just watched that fight. Oh, do you remember who it was?
I'll pull it up right quick.
Ludovic Klein.
Ludovic
Klein. Yes. He just fought him, got taken down a couple times, got back up. So he can get away from Klein, he can get away from Su Yung. The number scares me here. But remember, this is the same thing. This was my problem with Gaethje, is that he was the underdog, had all this money on him, and I'm like, I just don't see Vegas paying it out. Once again, 84. Gaethje was minus 160 something, I believe. AJ Cunningham at almost a 5-1 underdog with 84% of the money. It doesn't seem plausible. So I almost want to take the Su Yung decision. I think that's the other side, but I just don't think I can get off of Cunningham. I think I'm just going to take Cunningham money line here, and you know what? If it plays into Vegas's hand, that's fine. I tried to outsmart Vegas last week, and it didn't work. So I'm just going to take Cunningham at these plus odds and hope I get paid.
I kind of wonder if some of this might be the fact that Cunningham – I think he's not only related to Bryce Mitchell, but if he's not related, they're very good friends and they definitely train together. I almost wonder if all the Bryce Mitchell backlash, and I'm going to stay out of it before I say some things that are going to get some people very, very hot and bothered and very wet. But I think that might be playing a role in it as people are seeing, AJ Cunningham, Bryce Mitchell. I just want anybody affiliated with him to just die and just, lose horribly. And I'm such a heckin' good Perserino and all this other nonsense. I don't know. Food for thought. Eat up. Bon appetit. But yeah, it's tough. I recognize that AJ Cunningham was a wrestler because as you're talking about his takedowns and how the man's just getting taken down, I found him on Flow Wrestling because I remember that he was, high school Arkansas wrestler. Not a very impressive record. So he has the experience, but I saw a lot of losses on that Flow Wrestling for him, and I'm 95% sure it's the same AJ Cunningham that we're talking about. So
probably.
Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, I mean, there's no shame in losing to Ludovic Klein. Stephen Wynn was a pretty brutal loss that he suffered that is just who knows? I mean, he's only fought twice, and that was the Contender Series. They lost to Stephen Wynn, and I mean, Stephen Wynn's only fought once in the UFC last March, lost a unanimous decision, hasn't fought since. We'll see if he's scheduled or anything. So that's a bit concerning, but I mean, it's a Contender Series. I'm trying to get over it. He got sent back to the regionals, made his way back for being a good sport, being exciting, lost to Klein. So he's really not much UFC experience. It's good to see LFA fights. He did pretty well in LFA, 2-1 record. That's a really nice feeder org. So good to see he could hang out there. And yeah, I'm like you. This is a very, very tough fight, but it's very tantalizing because I'm looking at his socials and I've kind of been, and I know every fighter says this, right? Everybody's in the best shape of their life. Everybody's made huge improvements and all that. I'm really hoping that AJ Cunningham getting away from that gym that him and Bryce are at helps. He says he's been in Colorado, Denver specifically, where he's been at for like the last 8 months or even longer. It's kind of become the mecca for mixed martial arts in a lot of ways in the past few years. I mean, you got Elevation Fight Team there. You got Justin Gaethje that's there, Kamaru Usman, Rose, Nama Yunus that's there, her brother No Juice. I mean, you got all those fighters that have been training out of Colorado coming out of there. Yeah, so I think that's going to help because I think that's also what's holding up Bryce when we talk about Bryce later this year is that gym. Eventually, it's nice to be loyal and have that Conor McGregor mentality of, you've been with the same people since day one and all that and loyalty. But eventually, you kind of outgrow those sparring partners. You kind of outgrow those capabilities. And you can keep those people around, but you also really need to incorporate a more advanced gym with, more bodies to train with, more knowledge, things of that nature. So I think – even though, like I said, everybody says it, everybody hypes it up, I think this would be great for him to just be able to get away from, and no disrespect, but let's just be honest, a pretty like a good regional gym and a good gym to get to the UFC, but definitely not, from my opinion, a good gym to stay in the UFC. Taking some time away from there, maybe it's going to help him on these flaws, like his takedown defense, like making him a better wrestler since he does already have that base. He does have that knowledge. He just needs to get better at it. Maybe that's going to help him, and so it's tough. But, yeah, I mean, I'm just going to be on Cunningham money line with it being that ridiculous as well. So hopefully this is a grand slam.
I hope so. We really, if we hit 2 picks on Cunningham, damn the rest of the card, right?
Right.
we made it. Also, interesting fact: when he fought Ludovic Klein, that was at 155. This fight is at 135. So this is 20 pounds lighter. So Cunningham going into this one might, you have some time to rehydrate and re-beef up before the fight. I don't know how much bigger he's going to be than Su Yung, but he might be. I don't want to say noticeably, because it's like, how do you notice it? But he'll have that edge with the weight.
Yeah, that's a very good catch. I forgot to mention that. I did see that he's pretty excited about this being at bantamweight because he feels most comfortable there, and that's where he's saying that he's fought the majority of his fights at. He's kind of bounced around back and forth a little bit, but yeah, he's definitely excited. So.
Yeah, well, I think we got this one nailed down. How about you talk about that third fight, Bobby?
Alexander Hernandez versus Kurt Holobaugh, another fight. Which version of Alexander Hernandez are you going to get? So, yeah, this guy came in with all the hype and pomp and circumstance in the world and just hasn't really been able to string it together consistently. Is he going to be a Ryan Spann? And, what's Ryan Spann going to do? What's Alexander Hernandez going to do? A tale of two guys with similar problems, right? Alexander Hernandez, very close split decision win over Austin Hubbard last October. Before that, lost to Damon Jackson, even though he came in overweight. It's pretty ridiculous how much the fighters who miss weight go on to statistically win the fights. I wanted to say last I checked, it was something outrageous, like over a 90% win rate. And to lose weight to lose a fight, even though you missed weight, and to lose it in such a close split decision like that is definitely a eyebrow raiser. Lost to Bill Algeo, beat Jim Miller, lost to Billy Quarantillo, lost to Renato Moicano. So some of these guys, with the exception, Billy Quarantillo is pretty decent, a little dark horse in the division. Moicano's good, even though Makhachev lost notwithstanding. Algeo, Damon Jackson, Thiago Moises, it was all right. Drew Dober, no shame there. Drew Dober's kill or be killed. I mean, spotty guy who's been around in the UFC since 2018, looked to be on fire when he first got matched up in his debut with Beneil Dariush, who was on fire himself at the time. Round 1, controversial, might I add. Round 1 punches finish. A lot of people thought he faked the glove touch and capitalized on that, but nonetheless, it went down as a finish in round 1 for Hernandez. Pretty dominant dismantling of Olivier Aubin-Mercier, who at the time they matched up, another bright prospect in that division, and then the ghost of Cerrone kind of ended that. And it's kind of like he's been win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, literally loss, win, loss, loss, win, like very streaky definition of hard to predict guy. But I mean, he's only 32, which is the crazy thing. 15-8, that's not a lot of miles for a 32-year-old guy who's been in the UFC since 2018 is the craziest thing to me. 21-8 for Kurt. He's 38, though. Starting to get up there, especially in the 155 division. That's not a division where you want to overstay your welcome. The older you get, it's far less forgiving, those lighter weight divisions. Once you get to welterweight and up, you can kind of start to get away with it, but it's unforgiving below welterweight for the most part once you start to creep up towards 40 there. I mean, Kanan Krzyzewski, unanimous decision, lost to Trey Ogden. Common opponent in Austin Hubbard, he triangle choked him. And then, had a Ultimate Fighter spot, did pretty well on that with beating Lee Hammond and KO TKO and Jason Knight. Jason Knight, a very grizzled vet of the UFC in his own right, kind of a little mini legend in the sport. So, yeah, it's tough. Holobaugh definitely looks like he's all right. He looks like since he's been on that series of The Ultimate Fighter where it was Connor coaching up against Michael Chandler, he was one of those vets, part of the team that was, trying to make their name against the young guns, trying to get that second chance. And it looks like he's definitely aiming to make the most of it. And he has so far since he's had 3 fights since he's been on that season and won 2, lost 1. So, hey, good to him for taking advantage of a second chance. But is he going to be able to do that against Hernandez? Hernandez got killed by a few old guys already. He's beat some old guys. I mean, you're getting Hernandez at minus 205. You're getting Holobaugh at a plus 170. My biggest complaint is I think I'm going to take Hernandez. I just hate how I'm getting him at such a favorite. I feel like this should be almost a pick'em to me is just my biggest beef. Everybody else is kind of seeing it how I see it. 52% of bets are on Hernandez, 48% on Holobaugh. I feel like it should be a pick'em. This is my only beef it's hard for me to justify taking Hernandez at that, but it's also been hard for me to justify taking the other guys I have so far, what I've taken them at. And I think the buck stops kind of here, so to say, and I just can't take another underdog, especially when it's only at a plus 170. I think I'm going to have to go with the favorite here, and I just don't feel confident enough. To really go with a method, especially when decisions plus 100, which I think that's what it's going to be, is a decision. So I'm just going to stay money line because this is looking a little nasty to me. What do you think?
I think that was a perfect analysis, and I think your breakdown of the odds are exactly why they are the way they are. Because you don't want to take Hernandez at those odds. So
No.
It's pushing people onto Holobaugh, but I don't think it's the right pick. Like, okay, Holobaugh, he has probably, might be arguable, but I think he's got the better wrestling. And he looked much better in his last fight than Hernandez did. And I don't think that's as debatable because Hernandez had some moments where it looked like things were getting a little scary, pretty bloodied up. But I think, like, once again, I'm talking about these two guys fighting completely different people. I think their style, Hernandez, I think he picks his shots better, and I think he will land the more significant punches. Maybe he finishes him, but I still think Hernandez wins. Either way, like I feel like it's going to either be a decision or a knockout if he does just catch him just the right way. So I am also on Hernandez, and I'll also be on money line because I think they have it set just like that. Because they're going to make you pick a method, which is going to be gross, and you're really pigeonholing yourself, one guy, one method, or you can just take the money line, and it's just a nasty line. And people, I think, are falling for it because Holobaugh has 47% of bets, 68% of the money.
Yeah.
Ton of money is flooding in on him because people don't want to take Hernandez at the 2-1 favorite. I mean, he has 32% of the money at 2-1 odds. I mean, that's perfect for Vegas.
Yeah. Yeah, it's extremely tough, but Holobaugh just kind of feels, and maybe the other two dogs I picked are setups too, but this just feels, I don't know, something about this just in my plums feels a little weird. And I definitely can't take a method because I was looking back over it one final time, and Hernandez hasn't had a finish since October 2021 when he had a one-hitter quitter in round one against Mike Breeden, who only had one win in the UFC, lost his first three, lost to Hernandez, lost to Nathan Levy, lost to Terrence McKinney, won against Anshul Jubilee, and then got cut and is now at Dirty Boxing. So it's just too hard for me to try to go with a method.
I agree. And that's probably what it is. It's probably Hernandez by decision, but when they're only giving you plus 100, it's such a dangerous sport to pick a person's method. So, yeah.
Right, for sure.
On the money line. Let's talk about the fourth fight. No, we are not doing the co-main. We are doing Kevin Vallejos versus Choi Seung-Woo. Another one with huge odds here. Another one where the guy that's plus 400 or more has a pretty significant reach advantage. Last time I picked AJ Cunningham. This time I'm looking at the betting percentages. 93% of bets on Vallejos and 91% of the money. So, once again, we were saying with the Cunningham, oh, he has a whole bunch of money. Is Vegas going to pay that? Vegas is like 9% on plus 410. Like, Vegas is hoping Seung-Woo pulls it out, but he's so much older. He's 1-4. Vallejos is just so aggressive, so fast. I agree with these odds. I really do. And I know Vallejos doesn't have the same experience, but he just seems so much better. He's so much more active. I don't know. It's so hard to pick a method. I kind of lean KO, but I'm wondering what you think. What do you think about this one?
Yeah. So as we're seeing just all these examples of just guys with streaks and just failed unfortunate potential that just never took off, Seung-Woo Choi, right? Like he started off, all right, I mean, pretty damn tough to be expected in your debut to win against Movsar Evloev. So understandable. Not understandable that you got rear naked in your second fight by Gavin Tucker, but then you're starting to piece it together. Suman Mokhtarian, decent win at the time in 2019. I remember Mokhtarian. Really good win against Yusuf Zalal for all you Zalal slobbers out there. So, yeah, unanimous decision win over him. Julian Erosa, that was a really good win. Strikes finish. Not good that you get choked out by Alex Caceres in 2021. Josh Holobaugh and Michael Trezano, also have their way with you. So in his last, 5 fights, he's 1-4, and he's been finished in, 3 of those. So 3 of the 4 losses have come by finish. Looking pretty grim. Also hasn't been very active. Fought twice in 2022, only once in 23, once in 24. You're starting to wonder, is this a good example of time off to kind of clear your head, or are you contemplating retirement because now you're 11-7? You don't have a lot of, miles. You're 32. It's not terrible for 145. You could make another run, but you got to be quick, right? Because time passes you by. And, you mentioned that the reach advantage, and it's just tough because, 74.5 to 68 is just absolutely insane.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you even the height, 6 foot to 5'7",
yeah.
But if you can't use it, what difference does it make? Like that's like Stefan Struve, right? For everybody that remembers, Stefan Struve, the skyscraper, literally so damn tall, insane. Never could use his reach. Always got crowded. Always got knocked out in just absolutely increasingly comical ways. Just because you have the reach doesn't mean you can use it. I think Seung-Woo Choi in this fight's going to be a 145 Stefan Struve, right? Don't think he's going to be able to capitalize on that massive reach advantage. I mean, like I said, talking about skids, this is one of those examples where it could go either way, obviously, 50-50. I think the skid's going to continue. I mean, I think Vallejos is coming in here fresh off a Contender Series contract last September. This is his first real UFC fight. He's going to be hungry. He's going to want to get that finish. He's going to chase it, and I think it's going to be there for him. I think he's going to be pressuring the hell out of Seung-Woo Choi, and he's going to probably be able to knock him out. Because if you can't make that 6 foot versus 5'7" and 74.5-inch reach work for you and get crowded, you're going to end up like Struve. And I hate to say it because, like I said, this is a guy who's probably going to be looking at retirement because he's probably going to get cut from the UFC because he hasn't been that active and he's only won 1 in his last 5. And it seems like an easy setup for Vallejos. And we've kind of fallen into these traps before where we're like, oh, wow, this kind of seems like the UFC's giving their next up-and-coming young fighter kind of a layup against a little bit of a name, a little bit of a grizzled vet kind of getting fed to the wolves, kind of like we thought was going to be Alexander Hernandez versus Cerrone. It didn't work out in that situation, but obviously there's times when it does. Marcus Brimage versus Conor McGregor kind of felt like one of those things. Brimage, when they put him up against Cody Garbrandt, felt like it. He was kind of like the bantamweight sacrificial lamb. Maybe that's Seung-Woo Choi for this division, So, I mean, if you're getting Seung-Woo Choi at plus 440, yeah, that's just too much. I hate Kevin Vallejos at minus 600, but this is one – it's the opposite of Hernandez. I feel like this is justified. This is definitely justified. People are obviously 93% of bets are on Vallejos, 7% on Choi. It seems like a no-brainer. It's absolutely disgusting. You can't even get anything for taking KO, TKO. It's minus 175. Decisions plus 350. Problem is, I just don't think Seung-Woo Choi is going to be able – I just don't think he's going to last. I just don't think he's going to make it to decision is my biggest issue. So I'm going to check one last time to make sure Vallejos doesn't have like crazy amount of subs on like the regional scene or something. But if he doesn't, I mean, he's got one from 2022. Rest of it's ground and pound. Another one from 2022. Yeah. I just don't feel confident enough in that. So as disgusting as it is, I'm just going to roll money line. It's absolutely nasty, but this is one of those things that I can't disagree with.
You're just going money line. You're not going to take the KO with me.
Oh, are you? Yeah, I'll do the KO then. I didn't. My bad. I didn't hear you. Yeah, I'll do the KO.
No, I hadn't decided yet. When I was listening to you, I was like, yeah, I have to go KO.
I mean, pretty much. Like I said, decision maybe. I just don't see it. Like I said, it's tantalizing because that's your best bet, and then sub just seems too fluky right now. He's only got like 2 or 3 on the regional scene. It's been since 2022. I don't think it's a main component of his game, especially once he gets in there. I just get the impression Seung-Woo Choi is going to be timid. He's not going to want to get crowded, and like I said, Vallejos is just going to put the pedal down and just overwhelm him pretty quick. I see round 1, honestly, that quick. So.
I think he overwhelms him too, because if this does go to decision, maybe Seung-Woo was able to use that reach advantage and distance himself more than we're thinking he will be able to, and that's not good for Vallejos. So I would probably not love the decision. Even if it is a decision, I probably don't feel safe with that. I think the KO is absolutely the way to go. Can I ask you to do something real quick? This is just a better and green special. Will you look up Vallejos, Kevin Vallejos, but don't add the S.
Okay, let's do Kevin Vallejo.
That's what I did accidentally when I was.
Oh my. Okay. I am. Okay. I kind of. All right. Bet. I kind of like it. Okay.
Yeah, that's the thing that popped out. Like, this better not be. This can't be the right guy.
You can coach me anytime, Kev. Coach Kevin. Colombiano. Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man.
Latino heat.
That S is important now.
That S is very important, man.
That's a different person.
Right. That is an entirely different. I don't even know, man. I don't even know. I encourage you to check that out for yourself, though, listeners at home. You go ahead and do that, and you report back with your findings.
Yeah, it's shocking. Yeah. Shocking. Bobby, take the main fight away, buddy.
Marvin Vettori versus Roman Dolidze. The fight everybody thought was so nice they had to do it twice. This is a rematch. So, in their first meeting, who won, you might ask? Certainly not the fans. Just kidding. He actually lost. Roman Dolidze lost unanimous decision to Marvin Vettori. First meeting was March 18th of 2023. So, since then, he's lost to Imavov last February. We covered that fight. All right, Imavov's looked really good lately. No shame there. At least he was able to beat the corpse of Smith. Always good to beat Holland because Holland's another streaky 50-50 fighter. Will he, won't he? Last October. So 2-fight losing streak. We talk about fighters. Can they turn it around? Can they not? Roman Dolidze, prime example. Certainly looks like so far he's turning it around, right? He was facing a 3-fight losing streak if he lost to Smith, and now he's on a 2-fight win streak. So you can turn it around. You just have to dig deep in your plums and want it. So certainly looks like Dolidze, hats off to him, is on that point. Is Marvin Vettori? This is where I'm getting a little concerned because no shame in losing in 2021 to Adesanya. Hell of a amazing fight. Honestly, probably one of my top 15 fights of all time against Paulo Costa. Went to war with him October 2021. Lost to Whitaker, no shame. As I said, beat Dolidze, lost to Cannonier, got absolutely destroyed by Cannonier. Jury's out. Cannonier's another guy. We all thought that, except for you and I, we correctly predicted he was going to beat RoboCop. But, hey, another guy who was looking at a 3-fight losing streak turned it around. Good job, Cannonier. So, a little concerning that we're starting to look a little spotty, right? Even though it's elite-level competition, Robert Whitaker, Jared Cannonier, and Israel Adesanya, even though Adesanya himself fell off a cliff and is now facing a losing streak, win-loss, loss-win, loss, and then his last fight was just grappling at ADCC, which is a pretty cool match if you like that type of thing, against Tariq Suleiman. I encourage you to check that out. So he hasn't fought in the UFC since 2023, which is probably a good thing because after that beating by Cannonier, he needed to take time off. I think this is going to do him some justice. Come back, let that chin, even though his chin's already granite and he's rock solid and he's never been finished by strikes, never been finished, period, in his entire career. At least in the pros, maybe in the amateurs because it's just listed as a loss. But he's never been finished because he has that orc head. He's got that iron chin, that chiseled jaw. And do I think Dolidze is going to be the man to do it? Not necessarily, but this is a tough fight because I think this is going to be a fun little grappling match. I know Dolidze likes to wrestle. He's got those credentials, those Greco-Roman. I know Vettori likes to wrestle. So this could either be really interesting for fans of grappling or, dear God, it could be the worst thing your eyes have ever witnessed and just absolutely disgusting. I'm hoping it's going to be a grappler's delight. I hope this is going to be one of those fun scramble matches, some good takedowns, maybe some good sub attempts, just fast-paced, interesting fight. It's 5 rounds, so I definitely have concerns about Dolidze's gas tank. I mean, definitely the strikes of Imavov were playing a role. But I think also just that pace in general really wore down on Dolidze in general. It really seemed like the wrestling itself was just something he was just not prepared to just constantly do. So I think if Vettori can just make it high-paced, because Vettori has, demonstrated pretty consistently he's got great cardio. I've already mentioned great durability, an ability to just walk forward and take shots. Hopefully, like I said, he's improved upon that defense, and he's not as eager to take shots, and the time off has only helped his already iron chin from that Cannonier fight. But yeah, if it turns into a striking match, neither one of these guys are exactly Israel Adesanya with their striking. They're no Poatan either. So it'd be interesting to see if it turns into a striking match. I still give the edge to Vettori simply because if his chin does hold up, and we talk about this a lot on the show, is the chin going to be gone? Is this the time he gets cracked? Who knows? But if the chin does hold up like I don't think he's shot just yet. Been around in the UFC for a while, but he's 31, 19-6-1 isn't a crazy record. I'll say for now he's good. 74-inch reach, 2-inch reach advantage for Dolidze. He's got it at 76. He's got a 2-inch height advantage as well, 6 foot versus 6'2". he's older, but I don't think Dolidze being 36 is that crazy. Middleweight, you can get away with a little bit more than you can at the lighter weight classes. As enthused as I am about Dolidze beating Holland, it's I don't really care that he beat Anthony Smith. I wonder if this is the fight where Anthony Smith literally came out because like his coach passed away. No, that was the Reyes fight. Okay. Still, Anthony Smith, I love the guy. He's a legend. I know he gets crapped on a lot. I personally like him, but it's not really moving the needle for me that you're beating him in, in recent history is all I'm saying. When you're beating him in June of 2024, that's not the same to me. And especially when I feel like 205 was probably a better weight class for him where he really had a late career resurgence. To be drained at 185 is not doing it. So tough fight. I agree with the odds because this is very close. You're getting Vettori at a minus 155. You're getting Dolidze at a plus 130. I love it because it is so close, and I feel like that's how this is going to be. Better see it the same, 52% on Dolidze, 48% on Vettori for a percentage of bets placed. And you're getting some pretty good odds no matter what guy you go with to kind of take that edge off. Me personally, I think I like, you know what? This might be a haymaker for me. I think I'm going to go Vettori, and I think my haymaker is going to be, since I do think it's going to be a fun little grappling fight and hopefully not a boring one. I know it's been a while since he got a sub. He got one over Carl Roberson, which was pretty dope, and I'm not having this clouded by me being a Vettori fan. I really do like Vettori. He is one of my favorite fighters. But I also don't dislike Dolidze. I'm just ambivalent about him. He's just to me. I'm going to go Vettori sub at plus 900 for haymaker. What do you think?
I'm not going to disagree with it. They're seeing it on the screen right now. Vettori's pretty much better in every category except for average sub attempts per fight. One of the things
makes me feel better.
Yeah, one of the things I heard this week while doing the research was Max Kellerman. I don't know if people know him. If you watch a lot of ESPN, you've seen Max Kellerman. He does he does more boxing than he does MMA. But I heard that he said that in rematches, if the younger fighter won, then 90% of the time the younger fighter will win the rematch and he'll just win quicker.
Interesting.
It makes sense because the guys that when they fought back then, the guy was already older and had more experience. So now the younger guy's got more experience, is closer to his prime, while the other guy's aging out and, doesn't have that edge. Doesn't have that edge because they've already lost before. So
yeah, it makes sense. I just didn't know it was that statistically significant.
Yeah, it's Max Kellerman's a really smart guy, really, really smart. So that was interesting to me. And then, like you said, Vettori is actually the betting underdog because I have 47% of bets on Vettori right now, but 67% of the money. So that's telling me a lot of sharp money coming in on Vettori. And once again, it's sharp money coming in on the favorite side. So it's not as horrible for Vegas if it does happen. So I like Vettori even more. I just don't have enough good things to say about him. I'm going to take Vettori on the money line. I like Dolidze. I really do. And I guess the only concern of why Vettori might be like the betting, not his price as the underdog, but getting bet lesser than Dolidze, is I get Vettori's coming off that injury and hasn't fought in a while. So I mean, that's why I think people aren't on him. Am I off base by saying that?
Sorry, I was trying to test that theory that you said about younger fighters. What's your theory about why people are off?
Because like he had that injury and he just hasn't fought in a while. I think that's why people are not betting on Vettori and betting on Dolidze because he's looked pretty good lately. I mean, not like a world beater, but I just don't understand why. Usually the public's always on the favorite. So to see him as like only getting 47, 48% of the bets, I'm just kind of wondering why that is.
I think it goes back to that Jared Cannonier fight. When that's your most recent fight in a what have you done for me lately sport, and that's their last memory of you in the octagon. Because like I said, he had that fun ADCC grappling match with Tarek Suleiman But I mean, that doesn't count as a UFC fight. It's just pure grappling, right? So when your last UFC fight was just absolutely, you had nothing to offer Jared Cannonier, a guy that people are already wondering if he's a little bit past his prime and it's time for him to hang up, I think you start to kind of get that stigma. Maybe it's time for you as well if you're just getting absolutely – it was bad. It probably – I don't want to be too reactionary and say it could have been stopped, but he took some hard shots. And like I said, that's just crazy and a testament to his chin and how long it's held up that he didn't get put out by those shots.
Yeah. And then, Bobby, you know, like you said, the Haymaker, and everybody, if you want to get some more money on the Haymaker, once again, check out the link in the description or go to our website, bettergreen.com, where we post more UFC-based articles and DFS content. Check it out there. We have links there as well. Big play, big odd bet we give you every week to make sure you guys win more money with your bets, which, once again, they haven't been hitting lately, but we had a streak there where we were like consistently hitting plus 600, plus 700 bets, like huge, huge bets. And so, Bobby, again, repeat for the people. I believe it was plus 900 for Vettori.
Yeah. Plus 900 sub for Vettori. Why not? I think he's just going to have a point to prove. He's going to want to tell people, hey, I know that Cannonier loss sucked. I know I looked bad, but if you try to engage in grappling with me and make it a grapple fest, I know it's been a while, and Carl Roberson was the last one I had, but I'm kind of looking to make this a statement piece. I think, why not, you know? I don't think he's going to get a KO, TKO. I do see decision, but odds on decision weren't that great to make it lucrative for me. And, it's been a little rough lately, but at least we have the integrity to tell you that, right? At least we have the integrity to tell you when we're having a bad time, and it has sucked, you know, but we still thank you and appreciate you who still tune in, still leave positive feedback and everything. You know, check us out on Twitter and all that. You know, every dog has its day, as you know, Scarface would say, and our day's coming soon. I feel it. I feel it deep in my chestnuts. It's going to come soon. So thanks for sticking around. Thanks for watching, and thanks for being fans. Couldn't do it without you. This is a great thing to do with people that, you know, we enjoy talking to each other and everything, but it's also nice to just have fans who just continuously tune in. So from the bottom of my heart, I love you. I love you.
Thank you guys for watching. We'll be back again next week. Bobby, let's look that up again real quick. What do we got going on next week? Is it a good card? It's been
poop from a butthole. No, I'm just kidding. Next card after this.
Brady.
Yeah, I know they rebooked JDM. Probably even for a better fight. It's a little fuzzy to me who he got rebooked for, but I still really like that. Yeah, it's about time Sean Brady had a chance at Leon Edwards. That is good. I even like Ulberg versus Blachowicz. I think that's definitely a show and prove for Ulberg. Is this a real run? Holland versus Nelson, interesting. Nelson's one of those guys that, bro, what is this, 2016? Like, you came in with Connor, and look at how Connor's careers went. So, interesting. Holland back down at welterweight, thinking that might be the answer since he's been bouncing back and forth throughout his career between welter and middleweight. Interesting. Molly McCann versus Nunes. Is this a London card? They got a lot of
I think we were talking about that the other day. I think it is because they got Chris Duncan too. This seems like it's a very Euro heavy card.
I'm very excited to see Jordan Vucenic again personally. That's going to be an amazing fight. This is actually really good. Yeah, this is a good one. I also like that it's early. I do enjoy the earlier cards for sure. So, yeah, I actually like this a lot. Morgan Charrier versus Nathaniel Wood. Like I said, really excited to see Vucenic. Molly McCann, they always try to give her a layup in the EU, so that'd be good. Yeah, what about the prelims? Let's take a quick look. Oh, we start to lose a little bit on the prelims, but, you know, that's all right.
Ty Burrow's fighting. What are you talking about?
Oh, I love him. I do like to see Calvin Lauren. That's nice to see him back in action against Nathan Fletcher. That's a good one. Pooja Tomar, my favorite fighter. Bro, how do you not know Pooja? Come on. Pooja, please. Pooja, please. Yeah, the rest of these are except for Loner Kavanaugh. I've been hearing about him. I'm going to have to check him out. I don't know if we'll cover him, but been hearing a lot, so I'm going to have to check him out, at least for my own personal interest. And I do like Lauren, and yeah, that main card is really good matchmaking. I gotta
Yeah.
say, really good matchmaking.
Yeah. So make sure you guys tune in next week to see who we're on and what picks we have. The O2 Arena in London, England.
Pip pip cheerio. Pop up. Up.
Guys, we'll see you in the next episode. Peace, guys.
Peace.